Dear Dr. Sharice, my opportunity to take a lot of the questions that you all try to slip in my DMs and do something constructive.
Dear Dr. Sharice, are y'all ready for this?
The goal is for us to have honest, courageous conversations, pretty much with no topic off the table.
Let's go.
What's up, good people? Welcome to season 2 of Dear Dr. Sharice. I'm ready. Are you ready? I hope so. I want to talk about the time of year that we're upon. If you're listening to this at this moment, it's fall. And fall can look different for everybody. So there's some people who feel like, oh, if it's fall, then I want to do all the things and I'm super excited. And we have all of these traditions and plans. But I think it's important for you to also consider, is fall really happy? Or is it time to break from some of your traditions? Now, I'm not trying to hate on anyone who's like, this is my most favorite time of year. Keep that by all means. But what I do want you to consider is an introspective look at whether it's really happy fall or you're faking the front. If you've come to a season in life where it's important for you to recognize things are different, the context of your life is different, what peace and calm and groundedness and connection looks like for you may be different this year than it is in other years. Knowing your season is crucial. I will also add as a caveat, knowing the people who should be a part of your season, or what's the word I want to say, deserve to be a part of your season, is also a big aspect. A lot of times people will come and listen to podcasts or look for mental health information, and you're focused on, give me this quick tip, give me these 5 things that I can do. Well, let's be honest, that you don't do. It's okay. I'm gonna take a sip. But what I want you to understand is that finding yourself in a place where your well being is tended to, is nurtured, or something that is strengthened requires you constantly paying attention to everything that's happening in your life. While that may sound exhausting, the other aspect is if you don't pay attention to how you feel internally, how you feel physically, how you feel spiritually, how you feel socially, then those are the moments where you're going to hit a wall and you're going to find yourself in a place where you may feel stuck or living beneath your potential. So, if we had to kind of look at the focus of today, and I want to keep this as an overarching focus, even throughout the season, it's going to be centered around how do you resist the rhythm of the rush? You're going to get all of these invites, you're going to get all of these messages, some of you, because I want to acknowledge that there may be another side of life where this is a time where things dial down. Maybe you're not being invited into things. I'll go back there, but I want to just kind of hone around the contrast and the conflict that we find in trying to resist the rhythm of the rush, meaning this is a season where things continue to dial up. People invite you to things. Let's go do all of these different things. Well, this person gave me a gift, so I need to make sure that I give them something. All of those things can be overstimulating, can be dysregulating. And as a result, you can actually find yourself burnt out. You may also find, maybe this is you, that you notice that you're still trying to push. Anybody notice that? You're trying to hit these major goals super hard, but not really acknowledging what else have you already accomplished this year. If we think about the seasons, and I love the goodness of God and the fact that He has given us seasons, every season has purpose. And if you've been around me for a while, you know I love trees. This is not the first time you've heard me talk about them, and it will not be the last. But I feel like trees are so powerful because they give us this beautiful, present, in our face picture of exactly what we can be doing or perhaps need to be doing. If we look at trees right now in the fall season in most places, depending upon where you live, you'll notice that trees are changing. They're changing colors, they're starting to fall. They know that it's their season and they trust the change. Where in life is it important for you to create some kind of change as you head into this season, this last quarter of the year, so that as a result of creating that change, it's going to make it easier, more manageable, and actually allow you to enjoy the season in a special and unique way? I want to take a few minutes and talk through some of the things that you could experience if you are not resisting the rhythm of the rush, if you are working and overcompensating to make everyone else happy and putting your own needs to the back burner. You may find that you are a passionate, a empathetic person, a sensitive to the needs of other people, not seeing sensitive as something that's bad, but you have a good sense, a good gauge on other people. But as a result of that, you may find that you are in a place of burnout. And burnout is one of those tricky places that we are fairly familiar with. We know what it feels like. We know when we feel lethargic, when our limbs feel heavy, when it's hard to get up in the morning. You match burnout with a little seasonal affect because the days are shorter and it's darker. And you could have a really tough combination while you're trying to get up and pretend that everything is fine. If you're a person that has a sensitive nervous system, and we all have a level of sensitivity to our nervous system, how well we listen to that nervous system is going to be another thing. But if you have a sensitive nervous system, you're going to be more prone to experiencing burnout. That means you're going to already notice that there are parts of you that are starting to feel a little overstimulated, or you're having what we call anticipatory anxiety because you are concerned about the way things are starting to escalate and all of the different dynamics in your life. If that's you or someone that you love, a spouse, a partner, or a child fits that dynamic, then it's also helpful for you to balance while we're trying to do all of these things and make this such a great season and make all of these highlight reels. What's the cost? Is it impacting how we all feel when we're together at home? That's one really helpful way to know you're doing too much. If you then get home and you feel exhausted, you feel like you want to go and be in your own space and away from other people, then that's a sign that you may need to slow down and recognize that this is actually a season where we're intended to pull back and to go deeper and to really get into some of the things that will help replenish us and restore us. If we look at kind of the circadian rhythm of our bodies and of our mind from a neurobiological aspect, from about October to February, we are intended to mildly hibernate. That doesn't mean that we won't have connection. It just means that those connections we want to be intentional. We want to give ourselves permission to say no. And we want to walk away and kind of break away from areas of our life that are draining us and making it difficult for us to experience a healthy and appropriate sense of well being. Because if we don't, that's going to show up everywhere. That's going to show up in your relationship with yourself. I want to ask you a tough question right after I take a sip. What have you been saying to yourself lately? Not in the moments that you're just trying to pump yourself up to meet a goal, but in the silent moments, in the moments that you are feeling quiet, in the moments that you're still, or even in the moments that you're frustrated, what's your narrative? That inner dialogue is going to give you a big piece of insight into whether this is a season where any push is required or whether this is a season where it would be helpful for you to slow down, to process, and to avoid heading into the end of the year and into the next year with any level of burnout. You're going to feel things deeply. And as a result of the things that you feel or the things that you distance yourself from, it's going to have an impact. And we'll get into it with the episodes ahead. You're going to notice that if you are in contrast or conflict with the pace that your body truly needs, you're going to notice that your spending habits start to shift. You're going to notice that traveling and connecting with family and being in situations that are supposed to be enjoyable aren't. You might even notice that it impacts your eating habits. And all of those are significant signs that the rhythm that you're keeping is not in harmony with who you are. A lot of times we get frustrated with other people and we wish that they would give us permission to stop, to slow down, to back away. Or maybe you're one of those people who says, well, I'm going to rest as soon as I finish X, Y, and Z, but that doesn't always come. And sometimes by the time you do finish X, Y, and Z, you are so depleted that the rest that you're experiencing isn't because it feels great and it's nourishing. You're literally flatlined. And I want you to think how you can walk out the months ahead in a different way. Here's a few things I want you to explore from an application piece. First, I want you to consider if you look at kind of your historical patterns of this time of year of heading into the holiday season, what usually happens in your life? How do you usually feel in your five domains? Spiritually, physically, financially, socially, and emotionally. From there, what do you then notice about how you want to do things versus how you're actually doing them? Where is there any level of incongruency between what you know that you need, where it's time to stop, where it's time to let go of that responsibility? Where you're pushing yourself to do something that's not working out because the timing simply isn't right, or where you're also noticing yourself drift away from a group of individuals or an organization or anything in your life that you feel like is no longer relevant to you anymore. Can you give yourself that permission? So look at those historical areas, and then I want you to create a vision for yourself. Not what do you want to do and what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to experience? If you think about resisting the rhythm of the rush, what are the things that you are anticipating that don't feel like they're in harmony with what you need based on what you've been through this year, based on any losses that you've experienced, based on any physical challenges, based on any stressors that are happening in your life? This is all about you recognizing how can you honor your needs. And then as you come up with that vision for yourself, I want you to think about in order to move towards that vision, because a vision is something that you walk out, what do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? And then identify one small, intentional, and consistent way that you can resist, that you can gently push back. Now, I know all my people pleasers just went, resist and not allow everybody to be happy? Yes, that is exactly what I mean. The right people will be happy. The right people will also be upset with you because it's time for them to make some shifts in their life and recognize that they might be putting pressure on you because of what they need. But I just want to empower you to know you don't have to fall in line with what everyone else wants for you this season. Can you give yourself permission to really think about, is this the year? Is this the year to do this thing that you've always wanted, or to make this change, or to say, I no longer want to head up this responsibility? Those things may seem small and get overlooked, but those are all of the different dynamics that come into our world and come into our lives and weigh on our mind and weigh on our emotional health and our physical health that push our appetite because we're stressed out and overwhelmed. They impact our sleep. It's important for you, again, to resist the rhythm of the rush, to give yourself permission this time of year to slow down and to go deeper. And while you're doing that, of course, I always want to arm you with things that will help you, which brings me to a new book that some of you know that I just wrote that I am so excited about. So it's called Get Off the Scale and Heal. To all my healthcare people out there, I am not telling people not to care for their bodies. The whole premise behind the book is to recognize how the pressure of the season or the pressure of media and thin ideal can be pushing you towards trying to create this goal for yourself that is oppressive and harsh, and that we want to make sure that we are working on our internal health just as much as our external health, and that the two approaches are working well together. It is so full of application. So I've given you a lot of pieces and a lot of how, but some application. You'll also note that there's some affirmation cards that are going to go with it. And part of me bringing that up is, first, if you want a physical set of these, it'll only be when I do an in person event. We'll talk about that another time, but the digital version will be available. Here's what I want to give you as kind of a final thought, something that you can walk on. My needs are not a burden. It's one of the messages in the affirmation deck. In order for you to resist the rhythm of the rush, it means you being attuned to your needs at all times. And not just being attuned to them, but once you listen to them, once you identify them, that means what can you do to acknowledge them? Your needs, even when they may be different than the people around you and the people that you love, are not a burden. Take this information, share it with someone who is important to you. This could be great conversation for you to have with your family. I absolutely encourage you to even bring your students and your children into this conversation and even teach them how to find the balance between here's all the things that people want me to do, but here's what I really need, because it could completely change the climate of your entire family's life. I'll say it every time because it is so important to me. As you go back and you listen through everything, check out the show notes for how you can stay connected with me. And remember, most importantly, that knowledge is not power without application. So get to work.